Hi everyone, welcome. My name's Todd Nauck, and welcome to the newest episode, episode 5 of the Art of Todd Nauck show. This time I'm going to draw Superboy. Superboy from Young Justice. Now I know there's the Young Justice comic, and there's the Young Justice cartoon. I used to draw the Young Justice comic. It was one of my earlier projects in my career as a comic book artist. So loved doing that series, worked on the entire run, loved doing that book. And I appreciate all the support from the Young Justice fans. And if you're in Southern California, make sure you come to Long Beach Comic Con in mid-September, because both Peter David and I will be there. Peter David was the writer of Young Justice, and it was so awesome to work with Peter. I've worked with him on Young Justice and on Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, an incredible writer and an incredible guy and an incredible friend. So the guy's just incredible. And he wrote Incredible Hulk, so, you know, he's got the incredible cred. So, thanks for tuning in, and let's get to drawing. Let's see, this time I'm going to be doing an illustration on a comic book backing board. Now, I like drawing on comic book backing boards. I've been doing this for most of my career. I started doing this at comic book conventions. People would, you know, back in the 90s when I broke into the business, people, you know, the only piece of paper that most people had was a comic book backing board, so I started drawing on these. And one thing you want to be mindful of, there's kind of just the kind of matte side, and there's the glossy side. I do not like to draw on the glossy side because the ink sits on top and starts to smear. I prefer to work on the matte side, because the ink will kind of absorb into it a bit, and you get far less smearing, if any smearing at all. So let's get to drawing. Oh, let me adjust my lighting here and make sure we're focused. Which character am I most familiar with drawing? I'd probably say Spider-Man. I've been working on Spider-Man comics off and on for the past 10 years. It's hard to believe I've been drawing different Spider-Man comics for 10 years now. So I'd probably say he's the one I'm most familiar with drawing. The Young Justice kids, I mean, I'm pretty familiar with drawing them because I drew them for 5 years straight and loved every minute of it. If DC hadn't relaunched the book as Teen Titans to coincide with the Teen Titans cartoon of the first Teen Titans cartoon, I would probably still be drawing Young Justice. If DC would have allowed that. Welcome to those of you just now joining the broadcast. Glad you're here. Good morning, all. At least good morning here from California. You can tell the West Coasters if they say good morning on my morning broadcast. I know for many of y'all are later in the day to evening time for those of you around the world. But glad you're all here. Is there any character I don't like drawing? Not that I can really think of. People have heard me complain about Galactus, but that's only drawing Galactus as a convention sketch. It's not that I don't like drawing Galactus, he just takes up way too much time to draw at a convention because of his design and enormity, and also I feel I draw him better when I have the luxury of using my drafting tools because of that big old helmet. So even though I complain about Galactus, I wouldn't say that I hate drawing him. So I can't really say there's a character that I don't like drawing. At least not that I can really recall off the top of my head. Just because I like drawing superheroes and superhero comics, and it's each character is important to the story. And as a comic book artist, it's more than just drawing the characters, it's also telling the stories. So every character is going to contribute to the story to one degree or another. So I try to keep my focus on that. Did I run out of lead here? No, we're good. I always think I'm running out of lead. Until I actually do run out of lead. And then my suspicions are confirmed. Hopefully I'm staying in camera here. Who is my favorite creator-owned character? My Wild Guard characters are probably way up there on the chart. That's pretty much the only creator-owned stuff I've done. So I'm giving Superboy his 90s style circle shades. Very circly. Using my circle template here for perfect circles. Draftsman tools are very important in a comic artist's arsenal. What is the hardest thing I've ever drawn? I don't know what I could say the hardest thing is. One of the more difficult things I've had to draw, and I've mentioned this in previous broadcasts, is this one time in, I think it was Invincible Universe, the writer, Phil Hester, great writer, great artist, great friend, he wrote in a cow. He wrote a cow into the story, and cows are, I find, to be a bit challenging to draw. So to solve that problem, I went to Michael's craft stores. I don't know if you have those in your part of the country or world, but I went to Michael's and I purchased a little cow figurine, so I could look at the cow at whatever angle I needed to draw it at. Made it much easier. Favorite superhero, supervillain costume? Let's see. Well, I think Spider-Man's costume is pretty awesome. I'd probably say just overall Spider-Man would probably be my favorite. It's just very iconic. No matter how many times he changes his costume, he always seems to go back to the classic blue and red, doesn't he? Is being an artist hard to make a living at the beginning? Yeah, it can be challenging because you're establishing yourself. So yeah, it can definitely be hard at the beginning. But most things are hard at the beginning because it's the beginning, you know? No matter what it is we're doing or trying to do, it's going to be difficult and challenging. So it's not like we can really avoid that. It's just how do we handle that, in my opinion. But I'd like to draw a Spawn someday, like draw the Spawn comic series. I mean, I used to read Spawn. I don't really keep up with Spawn nowadays. Once, I read it back in the 90s. I don't know. If Todd McFarlane wanted me to draw Spawn, I'd be happy to discuss with him what that might be like. What would be the vision for what we'd want to do. But I'm not going out of my way to get picked up on the Spawn book at this time. I guess because I'm so far behind in the storyline. But I think, Spawn is a very unique character. And Todd McFarlane is definitely has been one of my favorite artists since I was a teenager. Loved his stuff on Spider-Man. That's where I first discovered Todd McFarlane. Then I went back and found his DC Comics work. And his issue of Hulk where X Factor guest starred. I love that one. I read that one over and over because I'm a big X Factor fan. The X-Men team, not the British singing competition show. Would I love to draw a Doctor Who comic? I would enjoy that, yeah. Especially if it was one of the later Doctors. 9, 10, 11, or 12. I'd really get into that. Or 4. I like 4 as well. Unfortunately, I got into Doctor Who late, so I haven't seen much of the other Doctors. Did get to see a little bit of the 6th Doctor while it was still on Netflix. Got to see one of his story arcs, one of the 4-part episodes, but I'm not really familiar with the other Doctors, so I'm not as connected to 1, 2, 3, and 5 through 8. But it seems like they're mostly doing comics for 9, 10, 11, 12, and 4, so I'd be able to work on a character or a Doctor that I feel personally connected to. But my top choice, obviously, if you've seen my cosplays, would be the 10th Doctor. See, did I develop my style straight away or did I mimic someone else? I don't know if I'd say I'd necessarily mimicked someone else, but I was heavily influenced by some of my favorite artists, especially the X-Men artists from when I was a teenager. I make no secret that I was heavily influenced by Arthur Adams, Rick Leonardi, Walter Simonson, and Alan Davis. Those are my earliest influences. So I was definitely heavily influenced by them, but I wasn't trying to draw like I was trying to draw just like Arthur Adams. I was trying to draw like me, but I was learning from Arthur Adams. So I think I've always had my own flavor. But the more confident I got in my skills, and the less I needed to look at their art, the more my style became its own. It veered away from what I call the training wheels. I think every artist, our influences are kind of our training wheels, like on a bicycle. And it gets to a point where we feel confident enough in our skills, and I think that's when our style really starts to evolve at greater leaps and bounds, and we're pedaling on our own. I think you probably still bring away a piece of what you learned from. I think people can still see an Adams or Simonson or Leonardi influence, depending on what it is I'm drawing from, because I really studied them for that one aspect. They can see the influence, but they don't confuse it. They don't look at this illustration and go, "Oh, that's a Arthur Adams Superboy there." That's a Rick Leonardi Superboy. They don't say that. They say it's a Todd Nauck Superboy. But if they're familiar with those other artists' works, they might go, "Oh, I can see a little bit of the Arthur Adams in the eyebrows, or the Rick Leonardi in the hair, or whatever." But it's still definitely, unmistakably a Todd Nauck illustration. Hopefully that answered your question. Are microns my go-to inking pens? How do I feel about brush pens? I use both. I've got the Sakura brush pens, the Pigma the Pentel Pocket brush pen. I've got my Kuretake brush pen. So yeah, I'm totally down with brush pens. And zebra brush pens. So I definitely utilize them for certain textures or techniques that I need. But I probably, because I have been using the microns and multi-liners for so many years, I feel more comfortable with them and more confident with them for my everyday line work, or the bulk of the line work, I should say. So in many ways, they are my go-to pen, but I definitely do like utilizing brush pen as well. So both ways. Hey, let's see, that Toyota interview was really cool. Were you at the Toyota event? Did you get to see my talk at Toyota? It was really cool to get to do that. I was very honored that Toyota invited me to come speak at their headquarters earlier this week to their staff for their corporate event. How's it going? It is going well. What size is this micron? This is the 0.8 right now. I often use the 0.8 for the main contours. Some of the smaller details, but that's why I'm saving the face for later, because I'm going to have to size down for much of that. I used it for the nose, because I want the nose to have nicer thick lines. Not overly thick, but just enough thick lines to create that sense of 3D, that have the nose coming off of the face. Oh, you saw the video. So I take it you were either are you in at the Texas or the Kentucky Toyota locations? Because I know it was broadcast, obviously, because you saw it on the Toyota broadcast. Do I ever use Copic markers? Do I ever? We'll be using some Copic markers a little later here in the broadcast if there's time. I've got all my colors out and my gray markers out and ready to go. In fact, if you check out some of my other videos here, or broadcasts I should say, or if you check out my YouTube channel, I've got tons of Copic tutorials on my YouTube channel, and I've used Copic markers in the previous 4 episodes here on my Art of Todd Nauck Facebook page. So welcome. What do I think of Copic multi-liners? Are they worth buying? Yeah, I like them a lot. In fact, I have some. I mean, I've got my 08 multi-liner here. The 03, or no, that's another 08. I have the 03 around. Oh yeah, here's my 03, the SPs. So, oh yeah, definitely into the Copic multi-liners. But they're almost exactly like the Pigma Micron multi-liners, so you're good to go either way. What Copic markers do I use for shadows? Well, it depends on the shadow I need to create. But generally, I would say different shades of gray, warm gray, cool gray, and neutral gray. But I also utilize some of the colors as well. So it all just depends on what needs to be shadowed out. Where did I learn to draw hands like this? A lot of practice. Again, referencing my favorite artists, but then just, I've always loved drawing hands, even as a young artist, like as a kid, even, before I wanted to be a comic book creator, as a little kid, when I draw my characters, I always loved drawing hands, because I find hands to be so expressive. They can convey so much. So, yeah, it's just a lot of practice, and just looking at your own hand. You always have as artists, we always have hand reference. We can pose our hands in whatever we need to, and then study the shape as we draw. So it's really just breaking down the shapes, each segment of the hand, studying the knuckles, the length, the fingers, fingernails, the tendons. Just a lot of study and practice. Study and practice. Let's see, now we're gonna ink the frames here to his glasses, his shades, going back to my circle template. Sorry, gang. Not able to answer many questions right now. A lot of the focus goes on lining up these templates as accurately as possible. Let's see, what was the previous one I used? Okay. So I like using Copic markers or watercolors better. It's either or for me. I mean, they both give. I like using both. So I can't say I like one better because I get a different effect. I get a different effect from Copics than I do from watercolor. So it depends on what mood I am in to what I want to achieve color-wise. Probably say I'm a bit more proficient at Copic markers because I've been working with these since 2009. But and I've just started up doing my watercolor again a couple of years ago. But they're both very fun. So I'm still using the 08 here. I haven't sized down yet. Get the Superboy smirk going here. Alright, now I need to size down, whoop, come back pen. Size down to the 01 here for the finer details of the eyes. Have I ever done a drawing of the She-Hulk? Yes, I have. I've done She-Hulk illustrations. I have not used the toner gray Copic markers yet. No, I have not included toner grays into my collection. It is the last series of grays for me to experiment with. And maybe I'll do that someday. Alright, so let's do an initial erasing here. Using the Staedtler Mars plastic eraser. A lot of people ask what pencil I use every time, and I'll say it again. The Uri Kuratoga 0.3 HB lead mechanical pencil. I get most of my pencils and pens, like my gel pens, some multi-liners, that pencil there, my click eraser, at jetpens.com. I buy my Copic markers at an art supply store here in Southern California. Alright, now let's put some black in the leather here of his jacket. Oops, I forgot to draw in this button on his jacket. Have I ever gotten to the later stage of a drawing and then made a mistake? How did I cope? Yeah, that's happened. I mean, I can't really recall a time right now, but it's definitely happened. I mean, mistakes are going to happen. How did I cope? I will say I was probably quite disappointed, probably quite frustrated, but whatever that mistake was, I found a way to fix it. And if it couldn't be fixed, then I just chalked it up as a learning experience and started over. But probably disappointment was one of... I'm using the BB. This is the broad Pigma brush pen. So for those asking if I use brush pen, this is one of those instances where using brush pen is really nice, because with the brush I can create these organic shapes, like the wrinkles to a leather jacket. So instead of sitting there and drawing in the shape, I let the brush do the work. It takes a lot of practice to get a feel for the brush pen. But I'd say my time using the Copic sketch marker, the brush tip of the sketch pens helped me develop the confidence I needed to use brush pens. Is it hard to understand a script to draw a page for a comic? Not really. Most of the writers I've worked with are very excellent writers, so they make it quite clear what's going on, and I'm allowed to bring in my creativity to do the visual part of the storytelling. But if there's anything that I have a question about, I tend to ask the writer, am I understanding what I'm reading here correctly? Is this what you want? What if I did this? And I find most writers that I've worked with, I'd pretty much say every writer I've worked with, very easygoing, easy to work with, and willing to collaborate and on the project. So I'm just going to drop some black in his hair here, that classic Superman black. Again, continuing to use the BB brush pen here to get the chunks of blackness in his hair here. Get those organic shapes going. Love the organic shapes. Starting at the base of the hair and then pulling away, and then letting it fade here, because he's got that sweet 90s fade, and then coming back the other way, leaving the white of the board in the hair for that classic bluish gray Superman shine, reflected hair, the light reflecting in his hair. So you can see it's now with that black, it gives it weight, gives it body and bounce. Any chance I'll be working on any new Wild Guard? I am working on a short story. I'm working on a short story that I am penciling, inking, and doing a watercolor. It's a watercolor illustrated, or watercolor colored. I mean, it's still illustrated traditionally with, it's penciled and inked, but for colors I'm doing watercolor. And it's a little slow going right now because a bulk of my work is doing the Deadpool series right now. So the Spider-Man book I did earlier this year, the Amazing Spider-Man and Silk Spider-Fly Effect miniseries, easy for me to say, and then Deadpool 2 soon have eaten up a huge bulk of my time, so I have not been able to put much time into that new Wild Guard story, but it is on its way. Hopefully it'll be here probably sometime next year. So stay tuned to my Art of Todd Nauck Facebook page and my social media, and you will not miss out. All right, now let's see. Need to put a little reflection there in his glasses. So I've sized down to the fine, the FB Sakura Micron Pigma brush pen. So he's got these red lenses. So I'm putting a little reflection there so it so that's the line work. Oh, I forgot to put the black in his collar there. The collar of his super suit. Is this going to be for sale? Yeah. If anyone's interested in purchasing this, the first email into me at mail@wildguard.com, MAIL at wildguard, WILDGUARD, that's one word, wildguard.com, gets first crack at buying. And if that person cannot complete the sale, then it goes to the next person in the order. The next person who emailed me gets the next shot. So the order that the emails come in, orders of the people who get a shot at purchasing a piece like this. And I'll respond with the price. I'll reply with the price if you're the first person in, or if you're the next person to get a crack at it. Alright, so while that part dries, let's start in on putting some colors in on his face. Starting with flesh tones, the E00 is usually my base color. If someone independent sent me a script to draw, would I check it out? If someone just sent it to me, no. I would have to delete it for legal purposes. I would have to delete that email just because it's unsolicited. So I do not accept unsolicited script. Oh my gosh, I can't think of the word I'm trying to think of. Submissions. So for legal purposes, I do not read them and I delete them, unfortunately. Now, if someone were to ask me, can I send it to you? I would then possibly consider it, but because of all the creator-owned stuff that I have working on the side here and with other people, I have to be very cautious about reading another person's script just for legal purposes. Yeah, so it's always best to ask someone's permission. Don't just email your script out blindly. Always ask permission first. Ask, would you be available or interested? And then if the person is, they'll say, sure, send it on over. If they're not, you just move on to the next person on your list. But thank you for asking. Thank you for asking here. So I'm not currently accepting scripts at this time because I have so many projects on my plate at the moment, which is a nice place to be as a freelancer. But yeah, I'm just not in a place to read or accept or take on any extra projects. Got so many other side projects that I can't even work on of my own. I can't take on any new ones. Do I like certain era pieces? Yes, I do. Pretty much Doctor Who, I would say, is probably my favorite era piece. Because, he's always going back to the past, he's going to the future. So, those are some of my favorite eras. The past and the future. Present, too. I like the present as well. How much should a beginning artist sell his illustrations for on average? I can't really answer a question like that. I think there are so many other factors. Probably your best bet, now I'm using some E000 here, is to check with your kind of artists at your stage here. Kind of your fellow beginning artists, find out what they're selling their work at and kind of start to base your prices off of theirs. And then as you continue to grow in your skills and your presence at conventions or online, or if you start to do professional work, you can then start to raise your prices as demand grows for your work. You don't want to overprice and you don't want to undervalue, so it's a very challenging thing to do to price one's own work. But I would say that's probably your best bet. That's what I did when I was starting off. I looked at what are artists that are at the same place I am as a beginner here. What are they charging? And I kind of start around that area as a ballpark. Hopefully that helps you. And good luck. Good luck with your art. Good luck with your commissions. You notice that I cosplay at cons. Who's my favorite character to cosplay? Let's see. My favorite character to cosplay would be the 10th Doctor from Doctor Who. Would be my favorite. I like the spirit of the character. I like the way he dresses. So I'm back to the E00 again. So I'd say him. The easiest cosplay is Sean Spencer from Psych, because then I can just dress normally and just carry a pineapple around with me and then touch my forehead. And then boom, Sean Spencer from Psych. I don't really do my Scott Summers Cyclops from the X-Men cosplay anymore because I broke my awesome 80s red lensed glasses. So until I get a new pair, I can't really do my Scott Summers cosplays anymore. So let's get a little pink in here. Using some R20 here to start off on the nose. Just a little here on the bottom part of the lip. A little here on the chin. A little there on the cheek. Just to get things started. Don't want to use too much pink on his face because, like on his cheeks or on his lips, because then it starts to look a little makeup-y. So now some R00. And here I can use much more of the R00. It's not too heavy of a pink. So I'm able to put a little color in his lips to make it look natural-ish, but not overpower. And then some here in his chin. Round out his chin a little bit more. So let's see, let's drop some blue in his eyes. We'll start with a little B14 up here at around the highlight, just underneath the eyelid. Then blend through with this with some B12. When did I start drawing comics? I started drawing comics professionally in 1994. Let's see. So let's hit up that hair. Going to start with some B45 for the kind of that Superman blue. How long did it take me to get comfortable using Copic markers? You know, it's such a gradual process. I'm not really sure what I could say when I felt like really comfortable. It's definitely a learning curve at the beginning, and a lot of trial and error at the beginning. So I'd say that first year, there's definitely a lot to learn. So probably it was like maybe a year or two into using Copics before I started to kind of discover my style, the way I like to color with them. You know, I kind of saw what my friends were doing at conventions and kind of how they laid down color. Checked out some YouTube tutorials to see some blending options. Now I'm pulling some of this blue down over the flesh here so we get more of that fade going. So it goes from hair to flesh. So the blue over the flesh color kind of starts to change the shade. Let's beef up this color a little bit more. Now, I'm not going to leave it at blue. I'm going to drop in some gray here on top of this. I'm going to come in with some neutral 4. How do you make sure you don't Bob Ross your creations, meaning overdo them? Do you feel Bob Ross? Let's see. Neutral 4 is a little too dark. Let's go neutral 3. Do you feel that Bob Ross overdoes his illustrations? Because I don't think he does, personally. But maybe that's my perception, my taste in art. But I certainly don't think he overdoes his illustrations. So I don't know if I can accurately answer your question. But thank you for posting it. Can I do a video on how to blend with Copic markers? I'm kind of doing that right now. Copic markers are made to blend. You have to be very careful which colors you use. I'm blending some gray over this blue, and I was blending those different facial tones here with the different E and R colors there. So yeah, swing by my YouTube channel. Check out my Copic playlist. I have a whole list of just Copic videos. So let's switch to the red here for his gloves and start on the S logo as well. So I've got the R24 to start off as my base color. It's pretty much my favorite shade of red right now. I use this for Deadpool, Spidey, most any character that's got red. I'll start with the R24 and come in with some R27. I appreciate all the comments and questions, gang. If you just tuned in, I apologize if I'm missing your questions. I said at the top of the show you might not have been here for that, and that's totally okay. But just want to reiterate for those that might have missed it. Sometimes I miss a lot of questions because I'm focused on the art, so I'm not always able to see your questions in the feed while I draw. But I truly appreciate all the comments, all the likes, and all those little different icons. Trophies? There are trophy. What is that? No, that's a little dude. I don't know what that little dude is, but the hearts, the thumbs ups, all those, I truly appreciate that. So thank you for all your support, thank you for your comments, and thank you for your questions. Please feel free to continue to ask questions, and I will try to respond if I'm able. Just want to let you know if I'm not, it's not because I'm ignoring you, it's because I can't keep up with all the questions because of the focus on the artwork. So putting some red there in the shades, and let's put some red in the S. Don't mess with the S, as Superboy says. And we'll just let the red fade out down that way. Now some R27, a little darker shade here. Just going to drop some cuts in through here. I've done this a long time, so I can do this pretty quickly. I know where I want to put these subtle cuts of red. And that's just what comes with practice. The more you practice, the more you grow in the confidence in what you can do or want to do. So you don't have to sit there and belabor it too much. So that's why artists are always telling young artists when y'all ask for advice on comics, drawing comics, breaking into comics, one of the first things we say again and again and again is practice. Just practice. Draw. Just put pen to paper. Every illustration is a drop in the bucket. Every drop in the bucket fills that bucket of confidence, in my opinion. Let's see, so I'm going to come in with some orange here. I learned this trick from looking at Edgar Delgado, the amazing colorist Edgar Delgado. I noticed in his convention commissions he would put orange in his Spider-Man's colors, and it just gave it such a vibrancy. And so I started to adopt that. So credit where credit is due. Edgar Delgado taught me. He didn't personally teach me, but I noticed it in his work and I started to utilize it, dropping some orange into the red there for a little extra vibrancy. Makes the red feel more like it's on fire. Let's come in with some darker shades of red here. Got the R59, and that orange I was using was the YR07. YR07 was my orange. For those following along at home or on the YouTube channel, when this goes to YouTube later on. Now I'm coming with the R59. This is to help shape out some parts of his gloves here. Now for the person who asked about shading, or blending, I should say, blending Copics, I'm about to do something that is one of the factors, one of the key points of how I blend. Coming up here momentarily. A little YR12 here, very light shade of orange, just to kind of finish out where the light is hitting on Superboy's, almost said Spider-Man, Superboy's gloves there. So I've been blending these lighter colors over the darker colors. Now I'm going to come back with my YR24 and blend over all of this. So now it's pulling all these colors together. So this is how I personally blend. I don't really use the colorless blender. I don't really feel it's the best blending tool for my style. I utilize it for certain effects, but I don't use it for blending so much. Even though it's called a colorless blender, I don't use it for blending. I use the lighter shade of whatever color it is I'm working on for whatever section it is to blend all of that together. So Superboy's coming along here pretty well. We've got a few more elements. Let's get the yellow of his S in there. So we're going to start with some Y13 as a base yellow. Come in with some Y21. So as you can see here, I'm shading through where the center of his sternum, where the two pectoral muscles meet. I guess it's not quite the sternum, just a little bit above the sternum, but right there where the two pectoral muscles meet, that's that line right there. So I didn't pencil it in, I didn't draw it in. Well, I guess I kind of drew it in with pencil, but then I did not ink it in because I'm using color to subtly convey that shape. So let's see here. And now let's see. Oh, we need to do the color here. So that's kind of a bluish shade. We're going to go back to the B45. Well, B97. What's in my sketchbook red? You're looking to buy it soon? Oh, I'm glad you're looking to buy it. I appreciate that support. It's a lot of images like this. A lot of just commissions and preliminary sketches, pencils, inks, Copic and watercolor pieces of a lot of the popular characters that I've drawn. Whether I've drawn them for comics or for commissions. No published comic work in there. Can't put that in. That's copyrighted to the publisher. So then that was a little B97 for the darker shade there. Let's go back to the Y21 here for the earring. A lot of people say, how did Superboy get his ear pierced if he's Kryptonian? Well, he's half Kryptonian. I think they explained this, but because he's half Kryptonian, I think the human side somehow allows him to get his ear pierced, like able to pierce the ear. This probably happened during the cloning process, so a lot of people bring that up whenever I draw Superboy, so I thought, let's just kind of address that now. I think it's the using that same Y21, so that would be why he's able to, I believe, why he's able to, and I thought I remembered reading him to have a pierced ear. He's not fully Kryptonian. They had to use human DNA, which we thought was, back when he first showed up in the 90s, we thought it was the director of wasn't Cadmus, forgot the research facility that made Superboy. But we thought it was him, but then I think they later revealed that it was actually Lex Luthor DNA. So Superboy is half Superman, half Lex Luthor. Little Y19. Why 19? Why not 19? Alright, now we're going to hit some cool grays here for the jacket. I'm going to start with some cool 5. What kind of pens do I use? All sorts of pens, mostly multi-liners, Pigma Micron and Copic multi-liners, corresponding brush pens, the Pentel Pocket brush pen, let's see, the Kuretake brush pen, number 60 specifically, I believe it's the 60 that I use. So yeah, those are the tools I use to ink with. Welcome to my broadcast. Let's come in with a little cool gray 6. Do I ever color my with using graphic programs like Photoshop, or do I strictly do markers? For pieces like this, commission style pieces or warm-up sketches, Copic markers or watercolor. I have done a little coloring with Photoshop, but mostly for the actual comic books I do, the colorists I work with, they do work with Photoshop. So let's come in with some cool 3, just to kind of blend through some of the white part here and the trim and buttons on his jacket. Still leaving the white, much of the white of the trim and the buttons open. Let's get a little cool 0 here. Gonna put a little bit of a kind of round out his eye. Some cool 0 there. Get my B000 to give it kind of a bluish gray. A little B01, oops, for the brush tip. Put a little metal sheen here on the buttons there. And use the B000 again to kind of round it out a little bit. I'm going to use a little bit of this B24 just to darken up his eyebrows a little bit to match his hair. Let's see, then I want to drop a little, I like to use a little gray in my shading here on the face. So I got all the base colors in, kind of come in with some warm 2 and put some shadows in. So from the flip of his hair covering up his forehead, got some warm 2 in there, and then here below the spit curl, makes the spit curl look like it's popping off his forehead there. A little under his eyes. Not too much, not too heavy. Don't want it to look like he's wearing eye makeup. A little bit under his nose there. Really like putting a lot of shadow underneath the nose. Helps create that three-dimensional effect. A little bit here underneath the wire rims of his glasses. So obviously I'm saying the light's coming from above for the most part. Underneath his lip. The chin, let's see, his hands kind of overlapping his face a little bit, so I'm going to convey that. A little bit under the bridge of the shades, a little bit inside of his ear. Have I always loved working as a comic illustrator? Yes, I have. I am thankful, I feel blessed, super blessed to get to do this for a living. I've gotten to do it for so many years, and I hope to do it for many more to come. So I really do enjoy being a comic book creator, for sure. Blend through the hair there a little bit. So you see, just dropping this warm gray 2 is starting to add some more dimension. I want to kind of sculpt out his cheek here a little bit, so I'm downgrading to the warm 1. Just want real subtle. Real subtle. Don't want it too heavy. Don't want too heavy of a shade there. Let's use this warm 2 to go through the S logo here, through the yellow of the S logo. Also been using this on the gold. I'll probably use a little bit darker shade. I'll probably bump up to a 3. In fact, let's do that right now. Go to the warm 3. Did I enjoy London? I loved it in London. I was sorry we had to leave to come home. We had so much fun in London. Saw a lot of places in London, but we didn't get to see everything, so we have to come back. We have to come back as soon as possible. When we come back, definitely a trip to Cardiff is on the docket, because I've got to go to the Doctor Who experience in Cardiff. So I'm using some warm 3 here in the gold to help give it that kind of goldish look. Cut a little warm 3 through there, a little warm 3 in the nostril. So it's now created an even darker shadow up in there. A little extra warmth. So you can just add little extra subtle levels of shadow where needed. So a little more shadow over here because there's so much congregating here around his face. A little more underneath the chin because that would be a darker spot. Maybe a little bit here through the hair where the S curl is popping off the head. All right, so with red, it's a warm color, so I'm going to use a warm gray, but it's a it's darker than the yellow and the flesh tone, so I'm using a darker shade of warm gray, using the warm 5. I'm using the sketch or the brush tip of the pen so I can sculpt these color shapes. Have you ever drawn any of the Transformers? I've drawn a couple of Transformers, like Optimus Prime, Starscream, Soundwave, but not a lot of Transformers. No, I haven't had many opportunities to draw a lot of Transformers. Let's see, let's come back with some little R24 here and kind of schmooze that blending. Just kind of softens some of that warm gray, kind of blends it all together. Boom, that's blending Todd Nauck style. Probably other people have that same sort of style, but I haven't seen their videos. So let's get a little background in here. Don't want a lot, just a little something. So I'm going to grab my T-square here, and I'm going to do a kind of a light blue for kind of a bit of a sky feel. So I'm going to kind of create a little bit of a background shape here behind him. So it's just a little offset here. So I didn't bring the square all the way over to here, just this far. Let's fill it up. Are Copic markers better than Prisma markers? I haven't really used Prisma markers, so I can't say that they're better. But from what I hear from those that do use Prismacolor markers is that Copics do blend better, where you can layer Prismacolor, like kind of like an animation feel. If you want the more kind of blended look, where you get the lush gradations, Copic is going to be your choice. I think Touch can do it as well. I don't use Touch because I'm a Copic guy, mainly because Touch didn't come on to the scene till much later, so I was already too invested in Copic. That's the only reason why I don't use Touch. I'm not saying anything against Touch. I just use Copic because they're the ones I had invested a lot of money in getting my collection going, so didn't want to change midstream. But Prismacolor, from what I hear, you can't get the gradation like I did here. You're going to just be layering color in more of a animation style. So it just depends on what it is what your goals are. If you want to be able to do this, I don't know if you can do this with Prismacolor. If you want to do, something that's a little more layered color, then Prisma is going to be, I think, going to fit the bill. So let's put a few little details here. Got my Uniball Signo white gel pen. I get it at jetpens.com. And we're going to add some white highlights here to the glasses. Extra little highlight in his eye. A little extra Superboy sparkle. Put a little extra white into the metal of his earring on the frames. Not a lot, just a little. And this piece is done. Let's see, today is the 26th? I think it's the 26th. If you've watched my previous broadcasts, yeah, you know that I always forget what day it is. Where's my calendar? Yes, the 26th. Today is the 26th of August. And there we go. Superboy. Let me pull the camera back here a little bit so you can see it in all of its glory. And I'll be posting this image on my Art of Todd Nauck Facebook page as well as all my other social media. So do tune in for that, or do stick around for that. And I'm going to flip around here and take a few of your questions because I know I missed a lot. So we'll do a quick little Q&A. I'll answer just a handful of questions. Then I got to sign off and get back to work. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks for joining me for Superboy here. So were there any questions? I want to see if I can double check. Do I have sketchbooks for sale on my site? Yes, I do. They're on toddnauck.com. You can get the black and white one, volume 1, or you can get Sketchbook Red, my ashcan sized color one, or you can get, there's a package where you can get the two and you save $5 or so. Do select the proper shipping choice there, whether it be for US, Canada, or international. Let's see. You'd love to see a cyborg piece from me? I'd like to draw cyborg sometime. Where can you buy my sketchbooks? toddnauck.com. That's toddnauck.com. And yeah. Hopefully they won't sell out there. Will I be at Tulsa Wizard World? No, I will not. The importance of these live streams? I'm not sure if I understand your question there. I know I enjoy getting to share my art with other people and inform people about art and comics and general geekery. Am I going to buy all the X-Men Legends? Did you see the X-Men Legend I have here in the background? I got my Kitty Pryde Legends figure. Very excited. If you follow me on my broadcast, you know this is my favorite comic book character. Kitty Pryde. Huge, huge Kitty Pryde fan. So I'm very excited to get this. I got that just earlier this week at Toys R Us. So I don't know if I'm going to get the whole series. I don't know if I have the space for it. And that's kind of the consideration there. I just can't buy every action figure that's out there. So I'm going to get the characters that right now I'm just going to get the ones I really, really love. So Kitty, I'll probably get the Wolverine one because I like the golden brown Wolverine. That was my first Wolverine. Rogue, she's my second favorite X-Men character, so I got to get her Jim Lee costume. And then there's the Warlock series. I'm a huge Warlock fan, so I'm going to have to see what I'll do there. I know I'll be getting Dazzler and probably, I don't know, sorry, my phone was trying to reconnect there. Hopefully that didn't glitch out too much. So I got to see what I got to do about Warlock. Hopefully I can just buy the whole Warlock Build-A-Figure on eBay from somebody. So how often do I do live streams like the one I did today? Whenever I have free time or can schedule it in. So you got to stay tuned. Make sure you follow me here. Just click like on the Art of Todd Nauck page, and hopefully you won't miss a stream. And I also broadcast on Periscope, so follow me on Periscope. I'm periscope.tv periscope.tv/Todd Nauck. So you can follow me there. You love the Tracer broadcast? Any more Overwatch art expected? Maybe. No plans right now. What comic series am I working on now? Spider-Man? No, I finished Spider-Man. I did a mini-series called The Amazing Spider-Man and Silk, Spider-Fly Effect, written by Silk writer Robbie Thompson. Really fun story. All 4 issues are in shops now. Be sure to pick that up. My current series is called Deadpool Too Soon. It's a Deadpool series written by novelist Joshua Corin. It's crazy. It is a crazy story. It's so much fun. Issue 1 comes out October 19th. Add it to your pull list now. Retailers are taking their orders now. Tell your retailer, I want Deadpool 2 soon. It's a 4-issue miniseries. We're in, we're out. It's a fun, fun story. It's got tons of guest stars. We start off with Rocket Raccoon, Groot, Squirrel Girl, Ant-Man, Howard the Duck, Forbush Man, and the Punisher. And that's just for the first issue. It goes, more come in from later on. And I found more ways to get more Marvel superheroes in there. So if you like the Marvel Universe, if you like Deadpool, and if you like my art, don't miss Deadpool Too Soon. I don't know any other way to advertise it. Be sure you get that. So let's see. So thanks for asking, and thanks for reading my comics. Any chance of doing a Booster Gold series? I hope so, man. I would love to do Booster Gold. If you follow my broadcast, you know that Booster Gold is my favorite DC character. Yes, I'd love to do a Booster Gold series. Booster Gold, Blue Beetle, Justice League International, any of that would be awesome. Do I ever work with electronic devices like iPad Pro, iPad Pencil, or the Apple Pencil? Not yet. I've experimented with it at the Apple Store. I kind of like it, but I might be heading direction for Cintiq, the Cintiq Companion. That might give me what I need to utilize digital for certain aspects of my work. So I am looking to get more into digital art. I think you can do amazing things with it, but I also don't want to give up being able to have original art on paper. So I'm trying to find a marriage of the two, like I hear some of my artist friends are doing. Are you any ongoing series you're going to do? Right now, all I can talk about is my Spider-Man series that I finished, that miniseries, and my upcoming Deadpool miniseries. So other series and other projects to come. We're back. If that glitched out on y'all, it glitched out on my end. As far as my other projects, stay tuned to all my social networks. You'll never miss out on where you can find me next on my social networks. Will I draw Captain America, the comic series, or an illustration like this? No plans to do a Captain America series at the moment, or at least nothing I could talk about. I have done some covers for Marvel that feature Captain America, but to draw something like this with Captain America, you never know. It's very possible. So thanks again for all the questions, gang. I'll try to go back and read through everyone's question. I probably won't be able to respond because there are so many, but thank you. At least I like to go back and read them. So know that your questions and comments will be read. Thanks for all your support. Thanks for all the likes. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking my page. If you're watching on YouTube, thanks for subscribing. Thanks for the thumbs ups. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for everything. You guys are awesome. It's always a pleasure to get to draw for you and with you. And thanks for sharing your art with me when you post it and you tag it. If I don't comment, at least I know that more than likely I did get a chance to see it. But a lot of my time and attention has to go towards the comic books and deadlines and other responsibilities of life. But I do at least try to take a peek. So thank you so much. You guys are awesome, as I said, and I'll see you again real soon. Hope you all have a great weekend, and who knows, I might be broadcasting again really, really soon. So stay tuned. All the best.